There's a lot of doctor bashing going on right now.
Find out how patients and doctors can protect themselves from bad medicine. Plus, he's not a doctor or a lawyer, but she's sure proud of her son, the stripper. And meet an all-star mother, Alberta Griffey. Tonight on PM Magazine. Good evening and welcome to another PM Magazine here on a Friday night from 107.9 Sunny FM. I'm Bob Lacey.
And I'm Steve Becker.
And tonight we're coming to you from Hooters Restaurant.
Otherwise known as Silicon Valley, Bob.
That's what I heard it was, exactly. Why? Because there's two wild guys out on the town. That's all there is to it. Well, our first story is kind of a serious one on PM Magazine. We've all heard about doctors who have been accused of malpractice and then convicted, and yet they continue to practice medicine. How do they do this? How do they get away with it? Well, there is a consumer group out that wants to put an end to that, and they have a new book out.
But some doctors are saying they're the ones who need protection from what they say is a harmful and fraudulent book.
John Weimer lives in a world of darkness.
It's really a living hell.
10 years ago, John checked into a hospital with stomach pains. A faulty incision during minor surgery nearly caused him to bleed to death, cutting off circulation to his optic nerves.
When I woke up, I was totally blind.
Later, it was discovered the surgeon lacked the experience legally required to attempt the failed operation.
My only hope is for other people, if they do have to go in for surgery, make sure that they know the doctor, the type individual that he is, because in actuality, you're putting your life in his hands.
But some medical experts say public information about physicians is sorely lacking.
Public Citizen.
That's why a consumer group called Public Citizen has compiled a list of more than 6,000 doctors officially disciplined for past offenses. And they say more than 1 million Americans are seeing doctors with a tainted past.
Some of these doctors have had criminal convictions, some have sexually abused patients, some of them have been caught with personal drug or alcohol abuse, some of them have misprescribed drugs, some of them are just plain incompetent.
But it's the wide range of offenses included in the book that annoys its critics.
There could be some serious offenses there. There could be some very minor offenses, but they're all lumped together. They're all the bad guys.
The American Medical Association claims the book is misleading because major offenders are listed side by side with those guilty of minor mistakes.
One of the examples in there could be that if someone failed to send their continuing medical education, their CME credits in on time, they could have their license suspended. Well, gee, that's a lot different from somebody that has been committing some medical malpractice, true medical malpractice on a patient.
We don't think that there's very much in the book that one could call minor.
But some say the directory doesn't go far enough.
I don't think it's enough, but it's a start.
Gail Walker's son, Jamie, suffered permanent brain damage from a grossly overprescribed dose of anesthesia. Though the doctor was found to be negligent, he is still practicing, was never officially disciplined, and won't be found in the pages of this book.
I think the consumer should have more knowledge.
But when does the knowledge go too far? Some say when it publicly haunts an offender years after he's paid his debt to society.
For somebody who has a minor infraction, how long do you say they're guilty? And you put them in a book, they're guilty forever as patients look at that book.
The idea that someone would take this publicly available information and publish a book they may not like, but then they shouldn't have committed the offense that led them to get disciplined in the first place. That is their problem.
But the question sweeping the medical profession goes beyond the debate over a controversial publication. It comes down to a patient's right to know versus a doctor's right to be human and make mistakes.
I think there is lots of scrutiny of the medical community and has been for a number of years.
I think people clearly have more information, more accurate, objective information about washing machines, cars, and things like that than they do about doctors.
With my eyes being closed, maybe it'll open some other people's eyes and they'll do something about this. Found it out the the hard way, I guess. Now I'm paying for it.
The federal government has launched its own attack on questionable physicians. They have a data bank available now that lists disciplinary actions taken against certain physicians throughout the United States.
But Wolf points out that the data bank won't do the average citizen much good, since it'll only be available to hospitals, HMOs, and government agencies.
Up next, my son, the stripper.
Well, sure, I'm proud. He's doing a good job.
Today's celebrity birthdays: Kirk Cameron is 20, Susan Anton 40, and Dick Gregory 58.
And back we are with PM Magazine from Hooters tonight. Thank you. Look at those oysters. Man, don't they look good? Yes, yes, yes.
These will be mine.
What do you mean? We're sharing.
I'm
Keep
sorry.
those right there. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Well, you know, most mothers are so proud of their sons when they go into careers like, say, law or medicine. Now, our mothers, as we're in broadcasting, have changed their names, moved out of town, and undergone major plastic surgery.
Not true.
But that's what happens when your sons get into kind of questionable job careers.
Now, a woman named Gloria Condalucci has an interesting son. His name is Robert. He is a stripper.
Meet the Italian boys. Meet Rotten Rob. Meet Rotten Rob's mom.
Get him, Rob!
My son, the stripper. It doesn't quite have the ring of My Son, the Doctor, but Gloria Condalucci is proud nonetheless.
Well, sure, I'm proud. He's doing a good job. And he likes what he's doing. If someone chooses a job and they like it, why not let them do what they want, as long as they're not hurting anybody?
Becoming a male stripper was an idea that popped into Rob's mind after his mom made a casual remark as she watched a group of male strippers on television.
And I says to Rob, I says, heck, you could dance rings around those guys. I said, be a way for you to pay for college.
Rob wasn't convinced that his mother was serious or that she would continue to be so open-minded once he actually donned a G-string. It took some courage to approach her with the news.
That was so difficult. I just thought I was going to get thrown out of the house. And I went to her and I told her that I started dancing. She said, "What kind of dancing?" I said, "Well, I take my clothes off." She said, "Well, I just hope you make a lot of money at it."
The other Italian boys weren't as lucky when they broke the news to their parents.
And she said, what did the rest of the world see? And I pulled down my pants and I had this little tuxedo on, and she said, "That's not bad." And then I turned around and she started screaming a disgrace in Italian and screaming, and she was on the phone with my aunt and hung up. It was terrible.
And my father to this day will say he thinks I'm going to be a gigolo the rest of my life.
Now, the job may lack respectability, but it has given Rob enough money to enter the real estate market. In fact, he owns this apartment building and plans on buying more. Is this how Donald Trump got started? For now, Rob's happy just to dance, make female pulses quicken, and watch his investments grow. His dancing abilities were recognized early, by the way, when he was just a toddler at a family party.
And he didn't even know that they were watching him. He just kept going on with his dancing, you know. And then when he was finished, they started to applaud. Well, he come running to me and started crying. He was so shy after that.
Shy little Rob grew up to be Rotten Rob. Mrs. Condalucci certainly isn't comfortable with everything her son does during a performance, but she was good-natured enough to surprise him the first time she went to a show.
I went out and stayed in the background, so he wouldn't even know I was there.
And she was the last table that I approached to tip, and I just stood there right in front of her with just my G-string on and said, "Ma, what are you doing here?" And she just laughed, and I think she pulled a Kleenex out to wipe my nose. I thank my stars that I have the kind of parents that I do. They're the greatest people in the world.
Mrs. Condalucci's liberal attitude comes from having raised her children to go after their dreams.
Well, I always told them, no matter what you want to do, if you want to do it badly enough, you do it. That's all, and don't let anyone tell you you can't. My hopes are always that they meet a real nice girl, marry, have a good job, and be happy. That's all.
You know, Bob, Rotten Rob's job does have its dangers. This past summer, a group of Australian women sued a male stripper for not performing for the full 30 minutes he was supposed to.
That's right. What happened was they attacked him after 10 minutes, took off his G-string, tore off his shirt, and doused him with water. He said he'd had enough.
I hate when that happens.
Next, she has her own all-star lineup. Meet Alberta Griffey.
I like being a wife and a mother.
Hurricane Lilith. It has just started taking a north. It's very
The top-selling songs for last week were Mariah Carey's Love Takes Time, George Michael's Praying for Time, and Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice.
We are back with PM Magazine, coming to you tonight from Hooters here on Independence Boulevard.